And welcome to KCSM, Ron. You finally made it.
Thank you, Lee. Pleasure to be here.
Great. I looked up and there you were standing. I thought you weren't going to be able to get in.
Well, they tried to lock me out. Yeah. As you know, it's President's Day, and a lot of things are closed up, but I found my way up here.
Well, good. We're happy that you did, because I was expecting you.
Thank you.
This new recording that you have, Ron Kaplan, New York, they're all songs about, New York City.
Yes.
And on this date, I might mention Larry Dunlop is at the piano, Seward McCain bass, Akira Tana the drummer, Eric Jacobson trumpet, and Noel Jukes playing reeds, sax and clarinet, to be exact. That's a very good group, actually.
Yeah, wonderful players. And Larry also did the arrangements for this recording.
I see. You said we were talking during the break, or during the record, rather. You said that you write a little bit, but these are all songs by other people. But do you consider maybe writing more for you're doing your own music and writing? And
well, you know, it's something that I used to have an affinity for. As I was stating earlier, I was just listening to something I put down on tape in 1981 of 21 songs that I had written, and there were more back in the old days. When I got into this repertoire, which is the Great American Songbook and the jazz standards, the music and the lyrics really, to me, are the zenith of American songwriting. So there's not, to me, they're wonderful the way they are, and I'm pretty much committed to keeping this music alive. In fact, I started a nonprofit foundation, American Songbook Preservation Society, greatamericансongbook.org, and my mission is to keep this music out there for the next 100 years and beyond, to present singers sing this music at home and abroad as ambassadors of song. So I noticed that on the drive up here that you were playing Oliver Nelson before from the Blues and the Abstract Truth.
Right.
And one of my recordings entitled Jazz Ambassadors, I did write lyrics to the song Stolen Moments, which I call Stolen Moments, the Blues and the Abstract Truth, which is the name of the recording, but there's no song on there called the Blues and the Abstract Truth. So that's about the only thing that I've done in the jazz realm.
Didn't Mark Murphy do... Did he write lyrics, or did he write those?
He did. He wrote lyrics. In fact, I gave him a ride one time up to Berkeley from the Monterey Jazz Festival, and we were talking about it. And I played the song for him, and I said, man, you know, the lyrics were really great, but you were kind of cavalier at the end, and it was the last A section that I didn't feel good about. He said, well, you know, I was young, and I didn't really care about it at that time, but obviously that tune's been around for a long time with his lyrics.
Now yours is a different set of lyrics, right?
Yes, it is.
So how do you work that someone else has written a lyric to a particular song and you write another lyric? Is there a legal matter involved in that?
Well, not really, in the sense that there were no lyrics to it. So there may be a copyright of his lyrics on that, like John Hendricks wrote like 1,000 vocalese lyrics. But Oliver Nelson was the composer of the tune, so I took the music and wrote my own lyrics.
Oh, I see. So now there are two sets of lyrics to the same.
Right.
That's kind of confusing, you know. I'm thinking, you know, if you take a Gershwin song, two sets of lyrics.
Well, that's an interesting point. Nobody's ever brought that up, so I commend you on that.
Now, which is curious.
I think mine are hipper, actually. They're a little deeper.
You don't happen to have a
I do.
Say no more.
Cool, man.
The greatamericансongbook.org is where one would go to find out what you're doing with the Great American Songbook and furthering the cause, I guess, of the... What made you do that?
Well, I got into... I've gone to jazz conferences such as the International Association for Jazz Education, and somebody, one of the seminars, gave me an idea, and this is for all you musicians out there, that you can start a 501c3 not-for-profit foundation, and it's a way that you can subsidize your music by getting gigs for yourself and getting people to donate funds and such. Well, I was taking some courses through the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz, and the more I got into this idea, it became more about the music rather than Ron Kaplan. And to me, as a singer, even though singers do have a lot of influence in the realm of jazz, they really have to fight for acknowledgement as musicians and such. So this organization is dedicated towards singers singing this music and keeping this music out there, which is largely the Tin Pan Alley, Broadway revues and musicals, and Hollywood musical repertoire. So we're talking about, you know, anything from Showboat and the Gershwins, Summertime, and Cole Porter, and Irving Berlin, and Duke Ellington, and Billy Strayhorn, and Harry Warren, and all this fantastic music that we know as the jazz standards and the Great American Songbook. And the jazz standards repertoire, that music was the popular music, and a lot of musicians took that music that people were familiar with. They started to write different arrangements and improvise.
Right.
And many of those became the jazz standards. And that music is so good, it still holds up today on its own.
We were talking earlier about the fact that a lot of people will take these songs and the jazz players rewrite the harmony.
Right.
So it's really difficult to know what the actual melody is unless you get the sheet music the composer put out initially. Because I've seen a couple of those charts. The chords are different, the harmony is different, and sometimes the melody is a little different from the way the singers that I've heard interpret the lyric.
Understood. And that's the challenge, to learn the repertoire the way it was actually written. And one of the rules is that you should sing the melody the first time through the way it was written, and then improvise with it. But sometimes there's a temptation, I know a lot of instrumentalists have, license, like Miles, where he would leave notes out and leave space in there. And my experience is so far that for vocalists, we don't really have that same license, particularly on this repertoire.
You have to sing that note, more or less, or know that it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's there, as long as everybody knows what's going on, it's
if
cool.
you know it's there, right, you can be a little more creative with it.
Yes, and part of jazz, one disc jockey from Great Britain told me, is a note of surprise.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I have a lot of those. So if one went to this the Great American Songbook.org, how could just the average person help to continue this?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you bringing that up. The website is greatamericансongbook.org. And actually, my goal is to raise $25 million, which will endow this in perpetuity and generate an annual budget of $1.25 million, which will allow us to have at least $1 million a year to present singers singing this music at home and abroad as ambassadors of song, and also to build online a website with educational materials about the composers, about the music, that can be downloadable for educational purposes from the school, grammar school, all the way up to the university level. So I'm looking for actually angel donors.
Oh.
And most of the money in the nonprofit sector comes from individuals, between 80 and 90%.
Well, we're at KCSM, we're familiar with that.
I bet. So we're on the same boat. But I'm just trying to keep this music going for the next 100 years and beyond. Build a national institution to support and underwrite this music, just like operas and ballets and even jazz is underwritten.
I really didn't think that the songs of the Great American Songbook were in any trouble, actually. I thought that they would be the least threatened by current market situations.
Well, they might be, and actually people do pay, of those, the top 25 downloads, according to Harry Fox, who sells the mechanical rights to these recordings. There's many compositions from those musicians that are in there, and their families are receiving royalties. And I think our greatest hope is having that music in the schools, like when you do musicals and such. This is part of Americana. But most of the people, including Tony Bennett, who may be the last guy, is around 82 years old. And beyond him and Freddie Cole and a couple other people, who's going to carry that tradition forward?
Right. Because, well, I'll say this and then we can continue with your record. There appears to be that, to me, that the style of the Great American Songbook, with the melodies, the way that they are, the melodies stand out, fairly well defined. The lyrics are fairly well defined. But now, today, if I listen to some recordings that are made by younger people, I don't mean to slight anybody by saying that, I don't hear the melodic content in the songs anymore, and I don't hear the harmonic structure that would allow you to build on a song like that.
I think they're trying to be too hip, man. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
I grew up in the 1950s and listened to all these great, besides crooners, but singers like Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong and Sarah Vaughan and the plethora of great singers. And when there was a good song, all of these people recorded it with their own arrangement and put their stamp on it, but they still sang the melody. It was still there. And that's what I'm talking about.
Well, let's listen to you sing some more melodies. This is Jumpin' with Symphony Sid.
Yeah.
That's about New York, but the disc jockey who...
Exactly. Played a lot of this music. So this is an excursion to New York and through New York, this entire recording.
And we're talking with vocalist Ron Kaplan, vocalist-composer, and another song about New York from his new recording, Ron Kaplan, New York, on member-supported KCSM, Jazz 91.
Gotta get hip and flip to the latest. People who love to swing with the greatest. There is a DJ show at a station, spinning the hottest tunes in the nation. Symphony Sid, a jive talking daddy. He's picking the goodies, never a baddie. Out of this world, a real solid center, filling the night with songs to remember. Rhythm and blues and jazz, and of course he really comes on with good men of Dorsey. We get all our kicks just digging those licks, jumping with Symphony Sid. All aboard! Tune in, this Prince of the Platters, playing them all, and that's all that matters. Dizzy and Duke and James with the killer, Ella and Bing, Basie and Miller. Get on the move, it's gonna be groovy. Jumping with Symphony Sid, all aboard. All aboard. Composition lie the blues and the abstract truth. It's so clear when I hear its divineness from the river of consciousness. We can hear what you're saying whenever it's playing, spreading the news by evoking the muse. It's eternal and fine, out of time, out of mind, inside the abstract truth. In these stolen moments that we're sharing in the temple of cosmic truth, in the whirling and swirling, unfurling creation of jazz at its roots lies the blues and its dues and all of its lessons, the object of which is to chase this obsession, the inside and outside of every progression into the abstract truth. Stolen moments that we're sharing in the temple of cosmic truth, in the whirling and swirling, unfurling creation of jazz at its roots lies the blues and its dues and all of its lessons, the object of which is to chase this obsession, the inside and outside of every progression into the abstract truth.
That's the voice of Ron Kaplan on KCSM Jazz 91. Our guest today in the studio with us, Jazz Ambassadors, this compact disc. And the players on here, you remember?
Yeah, this was actually made for the Jazz Ambassadors program through the Department of State and the Kennedy Center, and that's how it got its title. On piano, Eddie Mendenhall, drums, Steve Robertson, and bass, Dan Robbins.
And of course, Ron Kaplan.
Yeah, so that was the lyrics that I wrote to the Blues and the Abstract Truth, or Stolen Moments.
Those are different, a lot different from
yes.
Mark Murphy. Yeah. But that's, like we were talking during the break, a lot that goes on in the breaks. As you might well guess out there. But lyrics are very difficult to write, and at least for me. Do you find it easy to write lyrics? Or?
I seem to have a facility for it. I always have, so it's kind of fun. Now, if I'm put on the spot, I may not be able to come up with something, but by and large, it flows pretty easily.
Because George Gershwin didn't even write his own lyrics.
No, he had a brother. Yeah. And his brother actually hit before he did as a lyricist. And he was a Tin Pan Alley composer.
He was more popular than George?
Yes. He got the first show, his first break, but then he ended up working with his brother, and of course it was history, and then he had a short life. There's anecdotal reports whether it was 38 or 39 before he died, but supposedly Our Love Is Here to Stay was the last tune.
I actually met his wife. There was a gentleman in San Francisco by the name of English Strunsky, and I think his sister was married to Ira Gershwin. It was a 100th anniversary show that was done on George Gershwin, and in the business I was in at that time, news business, we had to go by his place in San Francisco, Nobbhill, and interview him. And I saw a lot of interesting things in his apartment.
Wow, I'll bet.
He had pencil drawings that George Gershwin had done. I didn't know that George Gershwin was an artist, but he was a very good caricaturist.
Oh, that's interesting to know.
Yeah, things about it. When you get talent, you get it all.
Yeah. Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah, he was a different. There were other dimensions to George Gershwin, not really public knowledge.
He was one of the other composers that worked with Harold Arlen we were speaking of before.
But lyrics are difficult. We were talking about Cole Porter too. George had Ira, but Cole Porter wrote his own lyrics, and he did an excellent job, I think.
Yes.
And that's really difficult to do.
Well, apparently not for him. He was superb at it.
How many other people are there to do that?
Not many, certainly at his level. Yeah. I would say he's probably the premier guy.
Until you get in the pop realm, I guess you get Stevie Wonder or Lyndon
Well,
McCartney.
even a lot of Stevie Wonder songs were written by other people. I love Stevie.
Lyndon McCartney,
they wrote a lot of stuff on their own, but they made this agreement to put their names on it for publishing.
Did they really?
Yes, and I think it served them both well.
Yeah. We're chatting with Ron Kaplan, vocalist, and he has a new recording, New York. We'll hear a bit from that in just a moment. Sunday in New York. And what made you choose these particular songs about New York? Because there are lots of songs about New York.
Yes, well, it was a themed recording, and a trumpet player that you may have heard of, who's not that well known here, but he's one of the old guard, is Ted Curson, invited me to make a recording with him in mind, and I was thinking about what I could do for a theme, and so New York seemed like a good idea, and there's so many songs written about New York that it was a challenge to choose the songs to do on this. There's one other song I left out that is more or less a quintessential song, Autumn in New York, which is I had previously recorded on a recording entitled Dedicated to Mine. So I left that one out, but I would have otherwise had it. But the idea was to take a trip around the city as A-Train goes, which Billy Strayhorn wrote on his famous meeting on the way to meet Duke Ellington and start their collaboration. He was great at actually a guy writing lyric and music, and we're going to learn more about how prolific he was as time goes by.
Did he write? I know most people know Lush Life, but what other songs did he write lyrics?
Oh, so many, but I'm not an authority on
Did he write the lyrics for Passion Flower and The Flowers That Left Something?
I'm pretty sure. I know he wrote the compositions. Yeah. I'm not certain about the lyric.
Chelsea Bridge. And
those all have his fingerprint on it. You can tell.
So you would say that I know I do. I think that he belongs with the Great American Songbook composers.
Oh, absolutely. And
he and Duke Ellington.
Absolutely, no question about it. The deeper I got into this music, I just kept bumping up against Duke Ellington because the repertoire is so extensive. And I have recorded some of their other songs. And, in fact, Drop Me Off in Harlem on this recording. And then Billy Strayhorn wrote Take the A-Train. These are the original lyrics, which aren't typically sung also, and I found out there's even a verse to that song. So some of these songs I did the verses to, and it makes it really fun. So the theme of New York really worked well, I think, on this recording.
Who would you say writes the most difficult lyric to sing and the most difficult melody to sing?
That's a great question. I've never considered that.
Have you come across a piece of music where you said, I can't do this, or this is really difficult, I have to prepare extra?
Well, some are very challenging. For example, Harlem Nocturne, which sounds like a Duke Ellington composition, but it's really Earl Hagen and Dick Rogers. That is a challenging song, and I actually had never heard anyone sing it. And I'm told that there are versions, but I couldn't find it at the time. So hopefully it'll stand on its own. But that's a passage in there that's kind of difficult.
Harlem Nocturne. I think that was used as a theme song for
Mike Hammer.
Mike Hammer.
Yeah,
right.
And that's I always dug the tune. So it was out of that, having an affinity for that song. I tried to choose songs that I have a personal affinity for, and that have a nice melody and good lyrics to them.
Or expresses maybe an emotion that you feel deeply.
Exactly, and that's the key to this music, and I think this is why it holds up, because a lot of this music was written for reviews in musicals where they were written to advance a storyline or the plot, so it was about something specific, some emotion or some thing, and that's why it still is true today, these lyrics. And then the fun of doing this repertoire is bringing your own self emotionally to these songs and making them your own and telling the story. And that's the meditation, that's the mantra, that's the thing that we strive for over a lifetime in our phrasing. In fact, instrumentally, a lot of the lyricists, the great ones, instrumentalists, they knew the lyrics, and they played the lyrics when they were playing the music, like Lester Young.
I know that you studied acting and you lived in L.A. for a while. Did acting help you to interpret lyrics or with the reading of lyrics?
I would say so, no question about it, although I have intensely studied how I can become a better singer over time. But that's something I think that Sinatra was very good at in terms of making these a soliloquy, and he would reveal himself without a lot of histrionics, right. Some nuance that, and Billie Holiday, of course, was a master of that. Yeah. She would draw you in, and without doing anything special, you could just feel what she was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the deepest expressions in art would be through nuance. It takes a long time to do that.
Yes, and the older musicians, when they're younger, they want to play all the notes, and then, then when they get older, they choose the notes to leave out and to use, and it is the nuance that is perceivable, palpable somehow.
The tendency is to want to find the notes that work, and once you find the notes that work, you want to pick the ones that you feel you want to play. But that's kind of backwards. I know this through experience. You should try and play what you're hearing. That way you're more consistent with it. You don't have to play a ton of notes. But like on a ballad, if a player improvises on a ballad, that's really difficult because you have more time to think. But when you make a mistake, it really stands out. I mean, it's a clam, and it's
a lot of musicians.
Giant clam.
Don't you hate those? A lot of musicians will incorporate that clam into the next phrase or a phrase down the line, so to make it work still. But what you're talking about, I believe, is something that I like to do, and what I love about jazz is following the muse, listening to that little voice about what it wants to do or where it wants to go, and then going there with it. Mm-hmm. And that is the zen of being inside the moment in the music.
Exactly. It's a zen because it takes a tremendous amount of discipline to get there.
Yes.
And that's hard.
And being there.
Right. Being there. Being here now, is one musician told me.
Completely.
About improvisation. He said, the most important thing is to be here right now.
That is it.
Here I am right now with Ron Kaplan on member-supported Jazz Radio, KCSM. How's that?
And with all of you, yes.
And we are talking about his new recording and the music business and lyrics and singing and all that good stuff. New York, Ron Kaplan on the, is this the record label, American Songbook Preservation Society?
Well, yes, that's the
record label.
Well, the record label is Kaplan Records, which is my label, and this is the 10th anniversary recording. Mm-hmm. And I have made it a point, because I'm the executive director and founded American Songbook Preservation Society, to include that message. Everything I'm doing to keep this music going. So I have a body of work as Ron Kaplan, but my heart is in this music, and I want to keep it going. In fact, take a little commercial here. On my website, Ron Kaplan, KAPLAN.com, you can go to the recordings page and download as many MP3s as you like of all of my recordings in exchange for making a donation to American Songbook Preservation Society. And there's a way to click on that. So hopefully, the bottom line is I want to share my music with people because that's the most important thing. And I want to keep this music going, so I'm trying to build this organization to stand the test of time. So if I can help.
You want to attract a younger audience to the music because the period which this music evolved, like 1920 to 1960, you
Yes.
mentioned that that's a totally different generation, and there are a lot of people that don't know that music through plays or whatever.
It's
Broadway
true.
plays and musicals and things like that.
It's true. You know, I was thinking about this about in the early 60s, hearing this pop rock song version of Summertime on Lloyd Thaxton's Hop Shop in L.A., and even Willow Weep for Me. Peter and Gordon did a version of that, and those songs are so good. Even though the arrangements were different, the music still came through. So I do want to introduce it to new audiences and keep it going. And so I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just trying to bring the music to the people.
Right. Ron Kaplan on KCSM Jazz 91, New York. We're going to hear another song about New York, Sunday in New York. And this is from his new recording, the latest recording, Ron Kaplan, New York, on Kaplan Records, on member-supported jazz radio, KCSM.
New York on Sunday, big city taking a nap. Slow down, it's Sunday, life's a ball, let it fall right in your lap. If you got troubles, just take 'em out for a walk. They'll burst like bubbles in the fun of a Sunday in New York. You can spend time without spending a dime, watching people watch people pass. Later you pause, and in one of the stores is a face next to yours in the glass. Two hearts stop beating, you're both too breathless to speak. Love smiles her greeting, and the dream that has seen you through the week comes true on Sunday in New York. Time without spending a dime, watching people watch people pass. Later you pause, and in one of the stores is that face next to yours in the glass. Two hearts stop beating, you're both too breathless to speak. Love smiles a greeting, and dream that has seen you through the week comes true on Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. Today it's Sunday in New York. New York.
That's Ron Kaplan from his new recording, New York. All new stuff and all about New York. The personnel on this, again, is Larry Dunlap, pianist and arranger, as a matter of fact, Kuratana on drums, Eric Jacobson on trumpet. I admire his trumpet playing. I like the way he plays trumpet.
I noticed that you turned it up when his solo came up, which is cool, because I know that you're a trumpet player.
Seward McCain on bass, and let's see, of course, Ron Kaplan doing the vocals. Well, I'm Noel Jukes. Let's not forget Noel Jukes on leads. Yeah, I'm trying to, but I write mostly, But that's another story. No lyrics. We were talking about Ted Curson.
Yes.
You did some work with him.
Yes, recently worked with him in New York, and he was one who inspired this recording, and it turned out that, and I was going to record at Bennett Studios and have all New York cats, and it just wasn't working out, and then Ted was away, and Benny Green was going to do it, and then he was away, and so I finally decided to record in the Bay Area, and because Larry wrote the arrangements, we went with that, and he chose the personnel, and I think he made some really good choices. But Ted is a really great guy. I met him in, I think, 1998 at Jazz Times was doing these conferences still at that time, and it was in New Jersey, and in the hotel lobby there, we played quite a bit together, and I actually had an opportunity to go to Finland with him, where he's a national hero. He has been playing the Pori Jazz Festival for 42 years, and he's like Dizzy Gillespie was to the Monterey Jazz Festival, and they really treasure him there. So I sent him a copy of this record, and he really appreciated it, and I attended the Jazz Improv Live conference, which was in lieu of the IAJE this year. They went to Toronto instead of in New York, so Eric Niemeyer, the publisher of that record, decided that he was going to produce an event, and I think it might steal a little of their thunder. But anyway, Ted was there, and he played with me, so it was really fun. Pianist Pete Malinverni and Harvey S. on bass, and we had a great time, and he asked me to go on the road with him, so I'm hoping to be able to do that. And he works the region where Finland and some of the Russian old territory is, and that Nordic kind of country. So
cold country.
Yeah, the cold country. Although he's well known in Europe. They have this festival circuit that they take the artists through, and it's all in the summer.
How's his health? More importantly.
Well, yeah, he's not getting any younger, and neither are we, for that matter. But nobody lives forever, so he gives it his all.
Fighting the fight.
Yeah, he's fighting the good fight.
Yeah. We were talking about downloading records on the internet. Now, some people, I guess, enjoy doing that or want that to be done, but do you find that hurts musician, hurts his income in any way? Does it hurt your income in any way?
Well, I'm surprised at the amount of people that my distribution is primarily online, like CD Baby or The Orchard or Rhapsody or iTunes, that sort of thing, because thinking of, as a small label, an independent label, having product in all these brick and mortar stores, and then I've lost a lot of product where people have gone out of business, and you just don't get that inventory back, and so it can be risky in that regard. So I kind of made that decision. I do get paid for some of my music, but the dynamic in the whole industry, record sales, CD sales, have continued to go down, and the record labels don't really know what to do. They've consolidated, and they don't know how to support their artists anymore. So it's kind of a level playing field. And some rock groups, I guess, have made their stuff available for free for a period of time. Just in looking at the economics, as I mentioned, the bottom line is it's more important for me to share my music or give it away than to get you to try and pay for it. It'd be great to support the artists and do that. And in having people go and download these, I'm asking them to make a donation to the nonprofit foundation at whatever level they want. So that's cool. But it's a different ball game, and people have different interests. So I can't really say. Most artists make their money though touring and performing.
Do you think you'd work more if you lived in New York?
No question about it.
Have you thought about doing that?
I have, man, and I just, those cats are scuffling for gigs, and they make about the same that people make here, and the wages haven't gone up in 30 years or more.
But aren't there more gigs for singers than for?
There are more gigs, but it's a hustle. For example, I went back to visit a friend who lives there. Sasha Dobson will be out here. Part of the Bay Area knows Smith Dobson and Gail Dobson, and they sent Sasha there to live and go to school, to the new school back there. And when I was back there, she had 3 gigs a night. So
it's not bad.
It's not bad, but you got to do that just to make ends meet.
To live in New York,
right? But the cats that you get to play with, that's the whole fun of it, and it's a good point of departure for traveling to Europe too. So you got to make your bones there in New York too.
Do you have any upcoming gigs here in the Bay Area?
I do,
West
thank
Coast?
you. Yes, at the Monterey Jazz Aquarium, I'm going to be working with Larry Dunlap. We're doing a benefit for the Coomboy Jazz Center, Jazz at the Aquarium, and that's at 8 o'clock on June 7th. I'm also for the nonprofit foundation doing an event on Mother's Day, May 11th, with singer. Actually, we're going to be working with up to 15 singers. Kathy Siegel Garcia is helping me put the event together there at a private residence and a home theater in Monterey Park. So we'll have more details online if you go to greatamericансongbook.org or ronkaplan.com. I do keep my chops up a couple times a week. I sing at Severino's on Thursday nights with Don McCaslin, and it's mostly dance music. So
where's that, Severino?
It's in Aptos at the Seacliff Inn. And then from about May through the end of September, I'm with Don McCaslin again with a band that's been together about 35 years called Warmth at the Wharf House in Capitola at the end of the wharf on top of the Wharf House restaurant. That's really a great venue on a nice day, just be out there in the ocean.
Right. At least you get a chance to keep your chops up.
Well, that's the main thing, and that's really what I strive to do. I actually think of myself as a recording artist, and this is the most fun thing I could do. And leaving a body of work it's nice. This is the 6th recording that I put out on the label. And being that I quit my day job, I don't know if I can continue to underwrite this. I'm launching in Asia this year. I got a distribution deal through the Midim Festival, or Midim as they pronounce it in Cannes. And I also had a couple of representatives there this year. So I'm looking to generate income streams for Kaplan Records and license and promotion and distribution, and try and replace that income I'm going to miss so dearly. So I can keep it going and keep doing this.
You majored in psychology, right?
Yes.
4-year.
For my bachelor's degree.
Did you do anything with that?
I reassessed at that time as to whether I wanted to be in school for another 5 years, and at that time only another $20,000 in debt. And I just decided that probably by the time I finished it, I'd be too young to really do anybody any good. So I kind of went back to my roots, in a sense, of working with the public and getting involved in sales and performing music when I was writing and playing and accompanying myself. And then one day I wanted to go into something that was a little more service-oriented. So it's something I never thought I'd do, but after the second kid and that new mortgage payment, it occurred to me that I should become an insurance agent. And so I built a career over nearly 23 years, and it turned out to be very rewarding in terms of working with people. And the psychology came in working with people when they were in crisis. And
so with the acting, I would imagine, too.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And also I've done a lot of personal work, which is something that the realms of the mind or something, and philosophy and all that stuff has always had a great appeal to me. So, and of course, all that New Age stuff we went with through the 60s and 70s, and space, exploring that inner space thing. So all of it pays off. You know, when you look back, you could see how, oh, I did this and this and this, and now it makes sense why I did this, or I brought that to what I'm doing now, and it made a difference.
We're talking with vocalist Ron Kaplan and championing the Great American Songbook. You can go there and have a look at his website. Either is it Ron Kaplan?
RonKaplan.com.
And there's a Great American Songbook.org where they can go and browse around and find out what that's about. And make a donation, hopefully.
Yes.
So, I want to thank you for coming by.
My great pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Come by again sometime.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Ron Kaplan on member-supported jazz radio, KCSM.
Yeah. Summer journeys to Niagara and to other places aggravate all our cares. We'll save our fares. I've a cozy little flat in what is known as Old Manhattan. We'll settle down right here in town. We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island too. It's lovely going through the zoo. It's very fancy on Old Delancey Street, you know. The subway charms us so when balmy breezes blow to and fro. And tell me what street compares with my street in July. Sweet push carts gently gliding by. The great big city's a wondrous toy, just made for a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. We'll go to Greenwich, where modern men itch to be free. And Bowling Green, you'll see with me. We'll bathe at Brighton, the fish you'll frighten when you're in your bathing suit so thin. We'll make the shellfish grin, fin to fin. I'd like to take a sail on Jamaica Bay with you, and fair Canarsie lakes we'll view. The city's bustle cannot destroy the dreams of a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. We'll go to Yonkers, where true love conquers in the wilds. We'll start together, dear, at Child's. We'll go to Coney and eat bologna on a roll. In Central Park we'll stroll, where our first kiss we stole, soul to soul. Our future babies we'll take to AB's Irish Rose. We hope our kids will live to see it close. The city's clamor can never spoil the dreams of a boy, and Goyle will turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. For every girl and boy, a great big wondrous toy. In New York, New York, a hell of a town. East side, west side, I happen to like New York. Never go back to Georgia, I'll never go back. Deep music fills the night, deep in the heart of Harlem, and though the stars are bright, the darkness is taunting me. Oh, what a sad refrain. A nocturne born in Harlem. That melancholy strain forever is haunting me. The melody clings around my heartstrings. It won't let me go when I'm lonely. I hear it in dreams, and somehow it seems it makes me weep, and I can't sleep. An indigo tune, it sings to the moon, the lonesome refrain of a lover. The melody sighs, it laughs and it cries, a song in blue that wails the long night through. Though with the dawn it's gone, the melody lives ever. For lonely hearts to learn of love in a Harlem nocturne. Melody clings around my heartstrings. It won't let me go when I'm lonely. I hear it in dreams, and somehow it seems it makes me weep, and I can't sleep. Indigo tune, it sings to the moon, the lonesome refrain of a lover. The melody sighs, it laughs and it cries, a song in blue that wails the long night through. Though with the dawn it's gone, the melody lives ever. For lonely hearts to learn of love in a Harlem nocturne. Harlem nocturne.
KCSM, San Mateo, San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose at 91.1 FM. In Sonoma at 90.7 FM and live on the web at kcsm.org. The Bay Area's jazz station.